In my fellowship, what I'm working on is how do you ingest this fire hose of opportunities if you run a newsroom, if you run the media side of business, the advertising department in a media company, you're in an agency. How do you deal with all of these great technologies in a fast and simple way? That's the focus of my fellowship. What I'm going to show you today is a couple of things that in my own career, I work with early stage companies, many like you've seen here today. I'm just going to give you a snapshot of some that I'm working with here with RJI and then turn you over to Roost. I'm going to start with Lucy. So we've already seen some great ideas today about the fire hose of images that are being posted to Instagram and Vine and Pinterest and so on and so forth. I'm working with Lucy out of Minneapolis, whose first customer is Target. And what Target is using Lucy for is images that are being generated in real time by Target's marketing team, by their agencies, by their photo studios shooting images, and by their trend spotters. They have several thousand trend spotters who are out roaming the world looking for trends. Lucy is bringing all of these images through the Lucy app, tagged into a canvas at Target for, in real time, Target to decide whether to push these canvases out to users or use them in various internal business operations ways. We think newsrooms and agencies can get their arms around all of these disparate photo creation and sharing apps. You can plug in Instagram, et cetera, to a Lucy canvas, and it has a lot of analytics around it. By the way, I'll be able to demo all of these at our demo. Next is NewsGuru. We're working with a team of graduate journalism students and MBA students here. And what we're looking at is the broad topic of credibility. What NewsGuru has done is they've taken a look, they've written algorithms around 30 million social media profiles, both individuals and news organizations, for instance. And what do the bios say about the expertise and the focus of these 30 million social media profiles? From there, they've written algorithms that look at the activity, the content creation and sharing of those profiles, and then finally they look at user reaction, retweets, shares, etc., and they score individual social media profiles. Their current iPad app, if you want to set up a feed and find the 15 top experts in the world who are writing news about raising chickens in your backyard, NewsGuru will search all those profiles and give you the feeds of the 15 top experts on raising chickens in your backyard. And then NewsGuru asks you, the audience, to participate in this rating and review system. Well, here's your screen where we're asking people to rate and review you and your social media profile. That's NewsGuru. Finally, again, all these great companies, and if you're sitting here or on the live stream in a newsroom or an agency, you're going, God, how much time do we have to really dig into these individual companies to set up an account to try their breakthrough technologies? So we're working with ClickFuel out of Boston that currently has, I think it's about 80 media clients like Cox and Atlanta Journal, and they've integrated about 80 of the usual suspects of content, digital media technologies on one common dashboard where a media company or an agency can just plug in and experiment, move dollars around or move campaign creative around and try these different technologies. This summer, ClickFuel is opening, and we're working here at RJI with them, on what we're calling the innovation marketplace, where we're going to let some of the emerging technologies that, like those you've seen here today, self-integrate on the ClickFuel dashboard via the SDK, such that a customer interested in experimenting and trying these new technologies can just go to the ClickFuel dashboard, it's already integrated, and they can just try it out. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Varner and Roost.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. So, I'm with Roost. I'm co-founder at Roost. Roost does push notifications for websites. We enable push notifications for websites. We're at a mobile-first conference, and as you know, push notifications have been the primary engagement tool of mobile apps now for the last 4 or 5 years. If an app succeeds, it typically has a very effective push campaign. With the release of Safari Mavericks OS last year, Apple brought push notifications to the web. So it was push notifications were exclusive to apps. Apple brought it to the web. We anticipate Chrome and Firefox doing that in the coming months. And what we're trying to do at Roost is we're trying to enable push notifications for websites in a very easy, kind of seamless way to take away all the heavy lifting of having to set it up on your own. So the early adopters of Safari Mavericks OS were the New York Times and NBA.com and CNN.com. What we also want to do is kind of provide an ability for smaller publishers to do this, or people that don't have the development teams of, say, the New York Times, and to do it in a way that's browser agnostic and platform agnostic, and I'm going to come back around to it, in a way that starts to service the mobile web as well as desktop. So many of you are probably using this already, but for those of you that aren't, when you land on a website, you get a pop-down. This is how Safari works. Chrome and Firefox might have a slightly different user experience, but it's essentially the same as when you install an app and you're asked if you want to receive push notifications from that app. In this case, you receive a pop-down. If you allow push notifications from that website, the website can then send you content updates or offers. The offers come to the upper right of your monitor. You don't have to be online when you receive those notifications. And when you click on them, it takes you to a particular landing page. The way that most people are using our service right now is they're simply automating this. Every time they publish something new, we pull their RSS feed, the push notification goes out, and in that way it's sort of acting like a more sophisticated RSS or kind of a replacement to services like Google Reader that have gone away. So it's kind of becoming a kind of reader, and again, most people are simply automating their push notifications. However, you can send manual push notifications. We actually find that in the data that we're looking at through our early customers, we launched in December, so the data is still very early. We're finding that manual notifications have a higher conversion rate. So for thoughtful publishers who are taking a little bit more time to think about how to integrate this into a more holistic campaign, they tend to get more people to their websites. We do see some publishers using this to share promotional offers. The push notification does not have to send someone back to the publisher's website, so at times they're actually using their base to direct traffic to someone that there's a partner with, usually an advertising partner. In Safari, the push notifications are available in your system tray, so it sort of functions as a push notification inbox for the web. In other words, you don't need to be there at the time the push notification came through. You can come back to it if you want to at a later point. So essentially what we're seeing is you send a push notification, it both generates new traffic, but the other two trends that we're seeing that are very interesting to us, in addition to the referral traffic that comes from the push notification, is that there's a spike in direct traffic to that website. And so essentially what's going on here is the person sees the push come onto their monitor, they're doing something else. Perhaps they're finishing an email. They don't click on it at that moment, and rather than following the push notification 3 minutes later, they just directly type in that brand domain name and visit the site directly. So we're seeing this spike about 15% across the customers that we're tracking this with, that see both referral traffic and direct traffic come from it. Then of course there's social distribution tied to it because people come, they interact with your content, and then they also tweet it out. We track everything. We're trying to provide performance analytics for our publishers so they can understand how to put together precise campaigning. This is interesting to us. So the opt-in rate of push right now, desktop push for Safari, at least with our base, is about 17%. So 17 out of every 100 people that are asked if they want to receive push notifications from a particular website are saying yes. Compared to email marketing, for example, which the average adoption rate there is about 0.5%. A very exceptional website that's optimized for email address collection might get as much as 4%. We're seeing an ability to grow a very fast distribution list to get your content out to people. This is just one publisher. These are not global stats, but this is interesting. In terms of just building a content distribution list, what's the power of desktop push, right? So we have a publisher in Italy who over 4 years has 18,000 Twitter followers on their handle. In about 10 weeks, they're up close to 8,000 now. I just checked earlier this morning, but at the time we made this, about 7,000 desktop push subscribers, all right? So the ability to build this sort of robust base, and we're not comparing desktop push to Twitter all told, but Twitter is a content distribution channel that people send links down, and to the extent that you also distribute content across desktop push, comparing it in that way, push compares very favorably. You can build a base to distribute your content to at a much more rapid pace. And again, as I said with email, if you compare this also to email, the 17.2% opt-in rate we're seeing greatly dwarfs the typical email opt-in rate. And so where we expect this market to go, and why we're here at Mobile First, we're trying to find best practices and data. Judd, where's Judd at? I know he may have stepped out. Judd and the team are helping us uncover some best practices and some early insights into how people are using this. Kim's been a great help, and so RJI has sort of embraced this to see what are the best practices in this space. But what we see happening is, right now, desktop push is available in Safari. Chrome and Firefox will follow in the coming months. And then we anticipate both Safari and Chrome to enable mobile web push through their mobile browsers, all right? And so what we want to do is we want to sort of position our customers to have an end-to-end web push solution, both on desktop and mobile, with one simple integration, rather than having to integrate on all 5 of those platforms. And we think that Safari could enable mobile web push through their browser as soon as the next release of iPhone. So all those things may happen yet this year, but certainly desktop push is a channel that's here. Large publishers are already using it, and we're trying to make it easy and also insightful for smaller publishers to come on board. So with that, yes?
It is true that you do not have to have one of these browsers open to get push. You
Correct,
just have to
so it's
set
not a
up.
banned channel.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is, unlike other marketing channels, we actually have to be on the web or on a particular website in order to receive information about that. Push can come to you even if you're not online at the time. So you could be working a spreadsheet, you'll get a notification that will then cause you to open your browser, and it'll create an engagement for that brand. So we have about 5 minutes, so between us, we can take questions. Yeah.
When you're talking about social sharing at that point, have you found any kind of obvious scenarios whether a price point is shared more than a piece of content, or is that too?
So again, we started in December. Most of our early adopters for our first 90 days were publishers. We've just moved into commerce, so the data is a little bit unclear to us right now. We have tracked across a few dozen publishers. There's definitely an uptick in social distribution after a push has gone out, and that's fairly obvious and intuitive. One would expect that.
I was curious about a couple of things. I find this very fascinating. I guess instead of doing a breaking news email to somebody that's on desktop, you do a push. And particularly with Malaysia coming up, the airline situation and the NCAA basketball, we had a conversation in our newsroom about what time do you not send push alerts, whether phone or desktop.
Yeah.
When is it, particularly with Malaysia, a lot of it's happened overnight. March Madness games were ending really late in tiers for certain teams. What are y'all finding about when is too late, or is it ever too late to send a mobile push or desktop
So
push?
there are 2 responses to that. The first is actually one of the things that the RGI team is working on is a case study on the most optimum time to send notifications. But what we're finding is the people who opt in to receive push notifications from a website are typically news junkies or have a strong affinity for the brand that's sending them. And so the correct answer for them is if there's new news, they want it, right? And they don't mind. If they're online, they'll click because they have a strong brand affinity already and or a very strong interest in that content area. And so they've asked to receive those notifications because they want to be kept up to date whenever that may be.
An add-on question. So if you're pushing at night when people are sleeping, but they want to get it, can you track whether they're opening the system trays to see
So
what pushes have come overnight?
We're presently tracking, we're not showing this on our analytics dashboard yet, it is a metric that we'll show soon, but we're tracking where people open the pushes most often. Upon reception, in the system tray, like I said, we're working with some to track whether or not it creates direct visitors right afterwards, and so there are, we'll be able to parse that information so people know, oh, even though we only had a 10% click-through rate on that push, the hour after it went out, we saw another X number of people come to it in the next 24 hours or next 6 hours. We can parse that stuff out.
Would you on mobile have it where someone, would you on mobile have it where, say, you could put in, I don't want to get a push between midnight and 6 because my phone's beside me and it's going to go off and I don't want to be woken up? Would y'all have that ability?
Those settings are not available yet, but personalization is an obvious direction the space is going to go in, both in terms of settings, quiet times essentially, like you would with an app, and also in terms of maybe getting granular with a particular brand. I will take push notifications from you about X, Y, and Z content, but not about this other stuff, right? And so they can opt in for particular content areas, or if it's a commerce shop, products that they are interested in, that they'll receive notifications about, but they don't want to receive a notification about everything that Gap has in its store, but there may be a line of jeans that they want to know about, something of that nature.
If you enable if you enable this this technology for mobile, will there have to be a destination if you do send a push alert through the web? Does it have to open to a certain web page? Like right now, you have to open the app through a push alert.
No, I mean, even right now, you could just send a notification that doesn't have a link attached to it. The links obviously are invisible, but they're embedded there. So if you want to use it as sort of a replacement for SMS, you can. That's intriguing to us. About half of our customer base right now is international. And in some, and this is something, I'm sorry, Will, you're the celebrity today. This is something Will can speak to, but the cost of SMS internationally is very expensive. So it's cost prohibitive. Push is much, much less expensive. And so a lot of developing countries are interested in using push as a way to get rid of SMS cost. Yeah.
What platforms do you currently support? Like what CMS systems?
Speak up, I'm sorry.
What CMS systems do you currently support?
Oh yeah, thanks. So right now we have, most of our customers are using a simple JavaScript integration. That's dynamic, so as Firefox and Chrome and others release, it'll just dynamically update and major uptick in their subscribers. And then in addition to that, we have Drupal, Joomla, WordPress, WooCommerce plugins that are all available. And so a lot of smaller publishers do that just because it's such a simple integration.